Have you ever finished a meal, felt completely normal, and had no idea that inside your body, your brain, had just experienced a sudden wave of stress? Not because of a disease, not because of aging, but because your blood sugar quietly surged higher than it needed to. Most people think blood sugar is only something that matters if you have diabetes. Modern research tells a very different story. Scientists are discovering that the ups and downs of blood sugar may influence how quickly the brain ages, how well we remember names, how clearly we think, and even how much energy we have decades before any diagnosis ever appears. The most surprising part? Some of the biggest blood sugar spikes happen in people who believe they're eating healthy. I'm Dr. Michael Carter, and after more than 15 years of studying nutrition and metabolic health, today I'm sharing the hidden science behind blood sugar spikes and faster brain aging that could completely change how you think about your health. Imagine two people eating breakfast before work. One grabs a large bowl of sweetened cereal with a glass of orange juice. The other chooses plain Greek yogurt, berries, a handful of walnuts, and a boiled egg. Both feel full. Both think they've made a reasonable choice. But over the next 2 hours, something remarkably different happens inside their bodies. The first person's blood sugar climbs rapidly, forcing the pancreas to release a large amount of insulin to bring it back down. Soon afterward, blood sugar drops just as quickly. Hunger returns, energy fades, concentration becomes harder. The second person's blood sugar rises much more gradually, providing a steady supply of fuel to the brain without the dramatic highs and lows. This invisible difference may seem small, but scientists believe it matters far more than most of us realize. Your brain is an energy-hungry organ. Although it represents only a small fraction of your body weight, it consumes roughly 1/5 of your body's energy. Nearly every thought, memory, conversation, and movement depends on a constant, reliable supply of glucose. The key word, however, is constant, not excessive. Many people assume that if the brain runs on glucose, then more glucose must be better. Biology rarely works that way. Just as a car engine performs best with the right amount of fuel delivered steadily, the brain functions best when glucose remains relatively stable. Repeated spikes can create conditions that challenge the body's ability to maintain balance. Researchers have spent years studying what happens after meals. Instead of looking only at fasting blood sugar, they began paying attention to the dramatic rises that occur throughout the day. Even among people without diabetes, frequent large spikes have been associated with changes linked to inflammation, oxidative stress, and reduced metabolic flexibility. These are all processes that scientists believe contribute to aging throughout the body, including the brain. Oxidative stress may sound complicated, but the basic idea is surprisingly simple. Every cell produces tiny, unstable molecules during normal metabolism. Your body has built-in defense systems to keep them under control. Problems arise when those unstable molecules accumulate faster than your defenses can neutralize them. Over time, this imbalance may damage proteins, fats, and even DNA. High blood sugar appears to increase this burden. At the same time, elevated glucose can encourage the formation of compounds known as advanced glycation end products, often called AGEs. These compounds form when excess sugar attaches to proteins and fats inside the body. Think of it like the browning that happens when bread is toasted. While the chemistry inside the body is much more complex, scientists use the word glycation to describe this gradual process. As AGEs accumulate, they may interfere with the normal function of tissues, including blood vessels and the brain. This brings us to another surprising discovery. The brain depends on an incredibly delicate network of tiny blood vessels. These microscopic vessels deliver oxygen and nutrients to billions of neurons every second. Healthy circulation keeps brain cells functioning efficiently, but blood vessels are sensitive. Chronic metabolic stress, including repeated blood sugar surges, may gradually affect how well they perform. You probably wouldn't notice this happening from one meal, or even 1 week. Brain aging doesn't occur overnight. It's the result of countless small biological events unfolding over years and decades. That's exactly why scientists are so interested in everyday habits. Tiny choices repeated thousands of times often matter more than occasional extremes. One fascinating area of research focuses on insulin itself. Most people know insulin as the hormone that lowers blood sugar, but it also plays important roles inside the brain. Neurons contain insulin receptors that help regulate communication between brain cells, learning, and memory. When the body experiences insulin resistance, these signals may become less effective. Some researchers are investigating whether this could partly explain why metabolic health and cognitive health appear to be so closely connected. This doesn't mean every blood sugar spike causes memory loss, and it certainly doesn't mean eating dessert occasionally will damage your brain. Human biology is far more resilient than that. The concern isn't one celebration meal or one slice of birthday cake. It's the long-term pattern of living on a metabolic roller coaster without even realizing it, and that's becoming increasingly common. Modern food environments are filled with products designed to be incredibly easy to eat. Soft breads, sugary drinks, flavored coffees, snack bars, sweetened yogurts, breakfast cereals, and even foods marketed as healthy can deliver large amounts of rapidly absorbed carbohydrates with very little fiber, protein, or healthy fat to slow digestion. The result is that millions of people experience repeated glucose spikes every single day without feeling obviously sick. They simply assume it's normal to become sleepy after lunch, crave something sweet by mid-afternoon, or rely on another cup of coffee to regain focus. But what if those daily energy crashes aren't simply a sign of being busy? What if they're clues that your body is working much harder than you think to keep blood sugar under control? That's where the story becomes even more interesting. Scientists have discovered that the size of a blood sugar spike isn't determined only by how much sugar you eat. In fact, two people can eat the exact same meal and experience dramatically different glucose responses. Even the same person can respond differently depending on sleep, stress, physical activity, meal timing, and the order in which foods are eaten. Understanding why this happens is changing the way researchers think about nutrition, and it may completely change the way you think about your next meal. If two people can eat the same food and have completely different blood sugar responses, then what actually determines whether a meal sends glucose soaring or keeps it steady? The answer is more fascinating than most people expect, because your body's response begins long before sugar even reaches your bloodstream. Every meal starts a carefully coordinated process involving your digestive system, your hormones, your muscles, your liver, and even your brain. They're constantly communicating with one another, deciding how quickly food should be broken down, how much glucose should enter the blood, and where that glucose should go next. When this system works smoothly, blood sugar rises gradually and returns to normal without much effort. But when several factors push in the wrong direction at the same time, the result can be a much steeper climb. One of the biggest influences is fiber. Unlike sugars and starches, fiber isn't fully digested by the body. Instead, it slows the movement of food through the digestive tract, giving carbohydrates more time to be absorbed. Imagine pouring water through a wide-open funnel versus a funnel with a narrow opening. The same amount of water reaches the bottom, but the speed is completely different. Fiber acts like that narrower opening, helping glucose enter the bloodstream at a more controlled pace. This is one reason why whole foods often behave differently from highly processed versions of the same ingredient. Consider an apple compared with a glass of apple juice. The juice may contain many of the same natural sugars, but much of the fiber has been removed. As a result, the sugars are absorbed much more quickly. The body suddenly has to manage a larger wave of glucose instead of a gentle rise. Protein also changes the picture. Foods such as eggs, Greek yogurt, fish, beans, tofu, and lean poultry slow digestion and increase feelings of fullness. Healthy fats from foods like nuts, seeds, avocados, and extra virgin olive oil have a similar effect. Together, they help create meals that provide a steadier release of energy instead of a rapid surge followed by a crash. Researchers have even found that the order in which foods are eaten may influence blood sugar. Starting a meal with vegetables or other high-fiber foods before eating refined carbohydrates may reduce the size of the glucose rise afterward. It's a simple strategy, but it reflects an important principle. How you eat can matter almost as much as what you eat. Sleep is another surprisingly powerful factor. After just one poor night's sleep, many people become temporarily less sensitive to insulin. That means the body has to work harder to move glucose out of the bloodstream and into cells. If you've ever noticed stronger cravings for sweets after staying up late, that's not simply a lack of willpower. Sleep deprivation affects hormones involved in hunger and fullness, while also making it more difficult for the body to regulate blood sugar efficiently. Stress creates another layer of complexity. When your brain perceives stress, whether it's an approaching deadline or heavy traffic, it prepares your body for action. Hormones like cortisol and adrenaline signal the liver to release stored glucose into the bloodstream. Thousands of years ago, this response helped humans escape danger. Today, the same biological system activates even when we're sitting at a desk answering emails. Occasional stress responses are perfectly normal. But chronic stress can mean repeated releases of glucose throughout the day, even when no physical activity follows. Combined with a diet high in refined carbohydrates, this may create an environment where blood sugar becomes harder to manage over time. Then there's physical activity, one of the body's most remarkable tools for controlling glucose. Your muscles don't simply move your body. They also act as one of the largest storage sites for glucose. During exercise, muscle cells can take in glucose much more efficiently to fuel movement. Even a short walk after a meal has been shown to help reduce post-meal blood sugar levels in many people. It doesn't require running a marathon or spending hours in the gym. Sometimes 10 or 15 minutes of gentle movement can make a meaningful difference. This helps explain why traditional lifestyles often looked very different from modern ones. People naturally moved throughout the day, walking, carrying, gardening, climbing stairs, or performing physical work. Today, many meals are followed by hours of sitting. Our biology, however, hasn't changed nearly as fast as our environment. Scientists are also beginning to appreciate the role of the gut microbiome. Trillions of bacteria living in the digestive tract help break down components of food that humans cannot digest on their own. When these microbes ferment dietary fiber, they produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids. Research suggests these compounds may support the health of the intestinal lining, influence inflammation, and even affect how the body regulates glucose and insulin. This means that every fiber-rich meal isn't just feeding you, it's also feeding beneficial microbes that may support healthier metabolism over time. Fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, and whole grains all contribute to this process in ways that highly processed foods often cannot. Perhaps one of the most encouraging discoveries in nutrition science is that small changes can add up. You don't need a perfect diet to improve metabolic health. Replacing sugary drinks with water or unsweetened tea, choosing whole fruit instead of juice, adding vegetables to lunch and dinner, including protein with breakfast, or taking a short walk after eating may seem like minor decisions. Yet repeated day after day, these habits gradually shape the environment inside your body. This perspective also helps us move beyond the idea that carbohydrates are the enemy. Carbohydrates are not inherently harmful. They include foods that have nourished human populations for generations, from beans and lentils to oats, berries, and sweet potatoes. The real question is how those carbohydrates are packaged. Are they surrounded by fiber, vitamins, minerals, and beneficial plant compounds, or have they been stripped down into rapidly absorbed starches and sugars? That's an important distinction because nutrition is rarely about a single nutrient. It's about patterns. Researchers consistently find that dietary patterns rich in minimally processed plant foods, healthy fats, and adequate protein tend to support better metabolic health than patterns dominated by ultra-processed foods and sugary beverages. No single superfood protects the brain by itself. Instead, it's the combined effect of thousands of meals over many years. And this brings us back to the brain. If repeated blood sugar spikes can gradually influence inflammation, blood vessels, insulin signaling, and cellular stress, then protecting the brain may begin much earlier than most people think. Not with expensive supplements or complicated biohacks, but with ordinary choices made every single day. The most exciting part is that the story doesn't end with avoiding sugar. Researchers are uncovering everyday habits that appear to strengthen the brain's resilience itself, helping it stay healthier as we age. And some of the most powerful strategies have nothing to do with restriction at all. The idea that protecting your brain begins with everyday habits is both empowering and humbling. We often imagine brain aging as something that happens automatically with the passing of time, almost like the slow fading of an old photograph. But science paints a more hopeful picture. While we can't stop aging, we can influence many of the biological processes that shape how we age. And one of the most important lessons researchers continue to uncover is that the brain responds to consistency, not perfection. Think about what happens over the course of a single day. Every meal, every hour of sleep, every walk around the block, every stressful moment, and every choice to reach for water instead of a sugary drink sends tiny signals throughout the body. None of these decisions will determine your future on their own, but together they create patterns, and biology is built around patterns. One encouraging finding from decades of nutrition research is that healthy habits often work together. Better sleep can improve insulin sensitivity. Regular physical activity helps muscles use glucose more effectively. A fiber-rich diet supports beneficial gut bacteria, which may help regulate inflammation and metabolism. Lower inflammation supports healthier blood vessels, and healthy blood vessels deliver the oxygen and nutrients the brain depends on every second of the day. In other words, these habits aren't isolated. They reinforce one another. This is why many scientists have shifted away from searching for miracle foods or single nutrients. Instead, they focus on overall dietary patterns. Among the eating styles most consistently associated with healthy aging are those centered on vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, seeds, fish, whole grains, and healthy fats such as extra virgin olive oil. These foods provide fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and thousands of naturally occurring plant compounds that work together in ways researchers are still discovering. Antioxidants deserve special attention because they help the body manage oxidative stress. Colorful berries, leafy greens, tomatoes, herbs, spices, and many other plant foods contain compounds that support the body's natural defense systems. They don't eliminate oxidative stress completely. That wouldn't even be possible, but they help maintain the balance that healthy cells need. Then there are omega-3 fats, particularly those found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. These fats are important components of brain cell membranes and have been widely studied for their role in supporting brain and heart health. While they aren't a guarantee against cognitive decline, they represent another piece of the larger picture of lifelong brain support. Hydration also plays a role that people often underestimate. Even mild dehydration can affect concentration, mood, and mental performance. Sometimes what feels like mental fatigue is simply a reminder that the brain functions best when the body has enough water to support normal circulation and cellular activity. Equally important is learning to recognize the difference between occasional indulgence and everyday habits. Sharing birthday cake with family, enjoying dessert on vacation, or celebrating holidays with favorite foods isn't what concerns most researchers. Human bodies are remarkably adaptable. What matters far more is the routine that follows once the celebration is over. If most breakfasts come from a drive-thru, most drinks are sweetened, most afternoons end with processed snacks, and most evenings are spent sitting for hours, those patterns gradually become the environment in which your brain must operate. On the other hand, if most meals include whole foods, movement becomes a regular part of the day. Sleep is treated as a priority, and stress is managed in healthy ways. The body has a much stronger foundation for maintaining metabolic health. Another important lesson from modern research is that everyone's metabolism is unique. Age, genetics, physical activity, muscle mass, medications, sleep quality, and overall health all influence how the body handles glucose. That's why comparing yourself to someone else rarely makes sense. The goal isn't to chase perfect numbers or follow rigid rules. It's to steadily improve the habits you can control. This perspective also helps reduce unnecessary fear around food. Nutrition isn't about labeling foods as completely good or completely bad. It's about understanding context. A bowl of oatmeal topped with berries, walnuts, and plain yogurt affects the body differently than a pastry and a sugary coffee, even if both contain carbohydrates. A balanced dinner followed by a short walk creates different metabolic conditions than eating a large processed meal late at night before going straight to bed. Small choices create different outcomes over time. Perhaps the most valuable question isn't, will this single meal age my brain? The better question is, what direction are my daily habits taking me? Science rarely gives simple yes or no answers, especially when it comes to something as complex as the human brain. But the evidence increasingly points toward one consistent message. Keeping blood sugar relatively stable supports many systems that the brain depends on, including healthy blood vessels, efficient energy production, balanced inflammation, and effective communication between cells. The remarkable thing is that these same habits don't just benefit the brain. They also support heart health, metabolic health, digestive health, and overall well-being. It's a reminder that the body's systems are deeply connected. When you care for one, you're often helping many others at the same time. So the next time you sit down to eat, remember that your meal is doing more than satisfying hunger. It's providing information to your body. Every bite influences hormones, metabolism, gut microbes, and countless microscopic processes that quietly shape your future health. Most of these changes happen far below the level of conscious awareness, but they add up over months, years, and decades. Brain aging isn't determined by one birthday. It's influenced by thousands of ordinary days. And that's incredibly hopeful, because ordinary days are where all meaningful change begins. The truth about blood sugar spikes isn't that you need to fear every carbohydrate or obsess over every meal. It's that understanding how your body works gives you the power to make smarter, more informed decisions. Stable energy, sharper thinking, and healthier aging aren't built through extreme diets or quick fixes. They're built through simple, evidence-based habits practiced consistently over time. If you enjoyed exploring the science behind how everyday choices affect your brain and overall health, be sure to subscribe. Every week, we dive into the latest evidence-based research to help you better understand nutrition, longevity, metabolism, and disease prevention in a way that's practical and easy to apply. If you found this video valuable, please give it a like, share it with someone who cares about their health, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or questions. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you in the next video.